presenting 6 Years with the Saints, a program produced especially for the Liberty Bank and Trust Company. Here is your host, Wayne Mack.
Good evening. The Danes occupied England from the year 1016 to 1042. Upon their departure in 1042, some English workmen were cleaning up an old battlefield site when they dug up a skull that they detected to be a Danish skull, a hated Danish skull. So, in anger, they kicked it, and the game of football was born. They devised a game in which they draw a line in the dirt and take this Danish skull and choose up sides, and the side that could kick the skull over the line would win the game. And they called this game Kicking the Dane's Head. Some youngsters nearby thought this looked like a fun game. So they dug up a skull and they began to kick, but the kids didn't have shoes, and they found this to be a rather painful pastime. So with typical youthful ingenuity, they found a cow's udder and stuffed it with grass, and thus the first football was manufactured, despite what Spalding might say. And the game of football became a reality. The title of the game was changed from Kicking the Dane's Head to Ye Game of Football. Football became very popular in England, in fact, too popular. When King Henry II ruled from 1154 to 1189, he found that the people were playing at Ye Game of Football instead of practicing their archery, which you were supposed to do every afternoon in the village in case those Danes returned. So he forbade them from playing Ye Game of Football again and made them return to their archery. So the game was outlawed, and in fact in 1189 when King Henry II died, it was just a memory. But where did it surface? In Ireland, of course, with their usual disdain for English law. The Irish cooked up a game called Gaelic football, and their ball was similar to the one that the youngsters played with. And the game was quite a picturesque endeavor. We'll take for an example the cities of Homa and Thibodeau, and they gather the able-bodied men from each community at a spot midway between the two. And there the colleens would dance and flowers would be strewn, and a master of ceremonies in a game between the parishes of Lusks and Swords in 1721 treated the spectators to something unique when he canted this poem, one of Ireland's classics so far as athletics is concerned. Ye champions of fair Lusks and ye of swords, view well this ball, the present of your lords. To outward view, 3 folds of bullock's hide, with leather thongs bound fast on every side. A mass of finest hay concealed from sight, conspire at once to make it firm and light. Then he would throw this ball in the air, and these able-bodied men would have at it. Kicking, gouging, scratching, punching, everything was legal, no holds barred. They felt if your eyes were swollen shut, you couldn't see the ball. The idea was to negotiate it into the other community, and then when you did that, you won the game. Thus, Gaelic football, the roughest, toughest game ever conceived, and a forerunner to the game we enjoy today. Yes, we do enjoy it, and I'm sure the English and the Irish neither recognized or realized that they were developing such an intricate game, one that we certainly can't understand today, even though we love it. Especially here in New Orleans, where, in reality, football began on November 1st, 1966, when a pro football franchise was bestowed on the city that care forgot.
Professional football has voted a franchise to the state of Louisiana, city of New Orleans.
John Mecom Jr. became majority stockholder on December the 15th, and the name Saints was applied on January the 9th, and that's the way Dave Dixon wanted it. You going to shoot for the name Saints now,
Yes, I am.
Dave?
Yes, I am. I certainly am.
Well,
definitely. I tell you why. Simply because it's a great ad that would be working for the pro club every day of the year. You know, 100 times a night in the French Quarter, when the Saints go marching in.
On the 27th of January, Tom Fears was named head coach. Les Kelly was our first draft pick in March, and Jimmy Taylor was signed in July. The Saints finished training camp and embarked on a 6-game exhibition junket that brought a record 5 wins. Our team had this town on fire, and the flames of enthusiasm fairly reached the sky when, on September the 17th, 1967, rookie John Gilliam gathered in the kickoff in our first official league game and flew like the wind, 94 yards to glory. Imagine, a franchise barely 12 seconds old, and already in first place.
I'm Norman Francis, chairman of the board of Liberty Bank. Liberty is first and foremost a sound and serious financial institution. But we're unique because we believe that professional banking services can be combined and offered with a special sensitivity, a progressive and an imaginative approach to people and their economic needs. From the very beginning, the widespread response to Liberty has proved that it can be done. Literally hundreds of New Orleanians from all sections of the city joined us to celebrate our beginning. We've been pleased that a genuine cross-section of people is continually coming to take advantage of what Liberty Bank has to offer. I'd like for you to meet some of the people who had the vision, the foresight, and the courage for this beginning in New Orleans. Liberty's board of directors: Joseph Meshore, Norman Zucker, Israel Augustine, Owen Brennan, Langston Reed, C.C. Dejois, Ben Bridgman, Mrs. Jessie Cook, Joseph Berrigan, Ernest Moriel, Jenin Coyville, Ambrose Pratt, William Connick, Benjamin Johnson, Joseph Landrew, and Alden MacDonald. We're proud of our board. We're proud of our president, Alden MacDonald, and we're proud of the commitment to New Orleans that Liberty Bank represents. We hope you'll bank at Liberty because we're young, we're innovative, concerned about you, and we'll give you first-class banking service.
As John Gilliam crossed the goal line, even the most doubting Thomas fan must have enjoyed the fleeting thought that maybe that 5-1 exhibition record was a true indication of the caliber of our Warriors of Willow Street. Maybe this saintly crew was indeed a team of destiny, and the fans of New Orleans a chosen people selected by the gods of fortune to be a part of some special and historical effort which would start at the top and go up. But alas, it was 7 weeks before victory was ours that season, and our season's total was 3. But we had our heroes, and they would remain our heroes. Actually, the years 1967 and 68 were quite similar for the Saints and for those who came to worship at their shrine. Internal changes were made, mistakes were made. But the loyal fan didn't concern himself with personnel problems at the Lee Circle offices of John Mecom Jr. Those of us who traveled with the team from the start could detect the first decay gnawing at the foundation of the franchise, but this was explained away to us as growing pains, all just a part of the game. 1967, for example, witnessed this scene when Mr. Mecom welcomed Mr. Bert Rose as general manager of the team. This film was shot at Mr. Mecom's plush headquarters in San Diego.
Well, John, you look like you're a happy man right now.
Quite happy. We've waited for this moment now for about 7 months, and it's taken a while to make the decision, but we know that but now, by far, the best decision we could have ever made on it. With the new general managership, one person in control and authority, and we're down the road now and quickly down the road to success.
Bert, how do you feel today?
Well, very kind of John to say that, and I'm sure he knows how delighted I am to be part of the Saints organization, and I just can't wait to get started.
Yeah, and before the season ended, Mr. Mecom couldn't wait for Mr. Rose to get started either, anywhere. So goodbye, Bert. 1967 was also the year of Jimmy Taylor's career as a Saint, his one-year career. This all-time great came to camp in '67 with a touch of greatness that few could match, and he was ready to lead.
Jim, do you feel that coming to the Saints, and as you mentioned, these younger boys, gives you a chance to be even more of a leader than you have in the past?
Yes, it does, because you have had the experience and been with some good, fine ball players, and you know you're really knowledgeable about the game, and you can help a lot of these young players and work with them, and they're all young and hard-working kids, and they want to learn and want to be good football players, and it does give you an opportunity to bring out some of the leadership qualities in you.
There was one difference in '68. Jimmy returned to camp ready to play, but a confrontation between Taylor and Coach Tom Fears brought about a sudden forced retirement and a Jimmy Taylor day on Willow Street when his tearful mother said to me on the field, "They made him quit, you know." 1967 also witnessed the arrival of Stoney and the Weasel.
What do you think about all the rookies? Well, I'll be very honest. My opinion of rookies is worth nothing because I don't even know who's a rookie out here. I've only been here, you know, a day and a half, Dave, and I haven't had time to pick out the vets, let alone the
I've
rookies.
been real impressed with this kid, Wes Kelly from Alabama. Boy, he's a hard-nosed kid. He'll hit you.
He's the back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've caught his act.
6'3", 225 or
Yeah, I
something.
caught his act my first day here, and he looks like he's going to help us.
They threw you right in the fray there, didn't you? That scrimmage right off the bat.
It's the first time in 6 years I've been in a live scrimmage on opening day of camp. But there's a first time
looked
around.
funny. He said, "Hey, Stonebaker," and you went, "Who, me?"
Yeah. Well.
Gary Quazzo was the quarterback, while a cocky rooster named Kilmer said he could do it better. Quazzo was articulate, intelligent, and talented, but not born to lead a platoon of rookies and cast-offs. For a job like that, you need a guy who is half rookie and half cast-off. So watch this pass. You'll recognize it. And when it came time for camp in 1968, Billy Kilmer was in command.
I remember about a year ago, you and I were down there, and I said, I thought you looked to me like a guy who was going to take charge of this football team and run it. And you have.
Well, Wayne, that was my thought a year ago, and I haven't lost that thought. Everything's been going good for me right now. I'll be glad when we get into the exhibition season and find out what our football team would look like. We're ready for the games now, and I know that the team is ready for them.
And a short-haired kid from Steubenville, Ohio, issued the first of his many optimistic predictions.
Well, no, I believe it. I think that if we get a few breaks and if our team morale stays as high as it is, and we do have the potential and ability on this team to go all the way, and I think with a few breaks and a little bit of maybe this woman's luck, we can do it.
San Diego was a lovely place to train. Ideal temperatures, cool ocean breezes, relaxing mountain scenery, and a few distractions. But most players hit the sack early because they knew every day Coach Tom Fears liked to go for a sled ride. Fears' philosophy was a tough player will play tough, and a tough camp makes a man tough.
I want them to look tough. This is a tough game. It's a violent game. It's a game of blocking offensively. It's a game of tackling on defense. And as long as they're tough and do their job, we'll show well. And that's what the people of New Orleans expect from us. This game is a game of entertainment, really. And in trying to entertain, of course, we try to aim at certain things in the way of improvement. And we certainly are improved this year, I'm quite sure. We have tougher people in the secondary, at the safeties, and I think that this is the name of the game, Wayne, toughness.
Well, all the toughness in the world couldn't corral one Saint, Joe Don Looney. Joe Don came to the Saints after a tour of duty in Vietnam, and that eternal hope that springs in the hearts of coaches forced Coach Fears to say that Joe Don, the new Joe Don Looney, would team with Tony Baker to give the Saints the best running backs in football. Now, Joe Don really seemed earnest about it when I asked him if he had really reformed, quit knocking down hotel doors and so forth. In fact, was there really a new Joe Don Looney?
No, I'll tell you, it's just people go along and they put so much importance on things that just aren't important at all. And I realize now that I put a lot of importance on things, that, material things and titles. You can sell a man a title quicker than you can sell him anything. And it doesn't mean that much. It's got to come from the self. That's what counts. So I haven't really changed. I mean, I'm not saying that I'll never, look at a skirt again or never take a drink of beer. But the newness is just a new outlook on living more than anything. Different things ought to be fun and are fun now. That sounds crazy, but that's it.
Unfortunately for the Saints, that wasn't it. After hanging around for 3 league games, making him eligible for the 5-year pension, Joe Don pulled up lame, took his year's salary that he'd conned the Saints out of, and went home or someplace. At last report, he's down on an island in the Caribbean with a beautiful woman where he intends to start a new super race. And as for Tony Baker, well, Tony showed such bright promise, we thought we had another all-pro. But one day while I was interviewing Tony, he wore a sweatshirt that said, "I hate football." And I think maybe he does. Tom Fears, meanwhile, was preaching toughness and living it. But there came a time when he needed to be double tough. He needed 2 heads, one to watch the players and another to watch Vic Schwenk. Vic had replaced Bert Rose as general manager. Now, in my dealings with Vic, I don't ever remember finding him unfair or dishonest, but he and Tom couldn't get along. They soon became involved in some infighting that made the foundations of the Mecom office at Lee's Circle tremble. Tom wanted to be general manager as well as head coach, but Tom said Vic wanted to coach. Mecom was caught in the middle. During a drafting session, for example, in 1970, Fears and Jack Faulkner wanted to pick Dallas Howell, while Schwenk did not. Tom picked Howell, and Vic picked up his notebook and stalked out of the room. So from then on, it was Katie bar the door. Finally, Mecom decided he would keep Schwenk and fire Fears, but not right then. A long, hot summer followed before the axe fell in the fall on Fears. John Mecom, in all honesty, would have given up his seat on the plane for a winner, but not his place on the sidelines. From his vantage point there, he helped all he could. But unfortunately, John just couldn't run out on the field and help a beleaguered Billy Kilmer. Billy always contended that it was very difficult to pass while in a prone position. And even the prayers of Father Jarrow, the Saints' own sideline priest, were of no avail. Now, draft choices, supposed to be the foundation of the future, turned out to be the failures of the present. Kelly, Shinners, Burroughs, and others. Kevin Hardy was snitched in a spiteful act by Pete Rozelle as part payment for Dave Parks. Now, in 1970, Dave aroused the populace with his Gridweek interview in which he complained that Billy Kilmer wouldn't play with him. Fears entered the 1970 season with a 12-29-1 mark, the best expansion record in history. But after a 1-6 log the first half of the season, the Tom Fears television show was canceled. Well, they had no choice. The star had been fired.
When they first saw the trailer in which Liberty Bank began, some of Liberty's good friends teasingly said that this bank has no place to go but up. And that's exactly where it's going. Pile driving started this week, signaling the beginning of construction of a handsome new Liberty Bank building at Tulane near Carrollton. It will be ready for us to move into by the end of this year. But buildings aren't what banks are made of. They're made of people, working hard every day to serve the needs of you, our customers. Liberty Bank has been fortunate to attract a fine, experienced staff dedicated to courteous and efficient handling of your transactions. They give you the kind of service that makes it obvious they care. They know that when you start off in a trailer, you have to try a little harder.
I'm Alden McDonald, President of Liberty Bank. I am proud of the kind of job we've been able to do for you. We have expanded our banking hours to make it more convenient for you. And of course, you can take advantage of the Liberty Savings Plan, or our Liberty Loans, or any of many, many services that we can provide you. As a new bank, we aren't bound by tradition. We'll be continuously looking for new ways of doing things. Don't let our temporary physical size confuse you. Liberty is a full-service bank.
Yes, Liberty Bank is small enough to give you personal attention, but plenty big enough to service all your needs.
On November 30th, 1970, John David Roberts assumed command of the Saints. Roberts was about as well known as Abraham Lincoln's first vice president, but he was soon to become rather prominent in local news circles. First, John David delivered himself to the press and left no doubt that changes were coming immediately.
There's been talk of, you've been referred to as a disciplinarian, and I know when you talked to John Mecom about taking over this job, there must have been some talk about what the ball club needed and how you meant to apply what you thought it needed.
That's a good question. Let me say this, when I was asked if I would assume the job the rest of the season, I said yes. I just expected one thing, and that was a wholehearted support of the administration in this case the front office, and that means the owner and the general manager and everyone else. And as far as being a disciplinarian is concerned, I think anyone in coaching is a disciplinarian. I think if you don't have discipline, you might as well not even go out. And as far as I'm concerned, maybe the way I go about it will be different than someone else. But you have to be yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, a team has to be disciplined on the field, off the field, and everything else. And those people who do not like that attitude or don't take that attitude, then they won't be with us.
Was this stern Marine to be a miracle worker? Could he transform the old Absinthe House Saints into a smooth working machine? Well, on the following Sunday, a miracle of miracles caused Jackie Burkett to snap the ball to Joe Scarpati, who put it in place where Tom Dempsey proceeded to boot it 63 yards to beat Detroit on the final play of the game.
Yeah, what did Scarpati say to you?
Nothing really. He just he said back up a little bit farther. You know, he said we're back and just kick the hell out of it.
And he did that. The victory string ended there, however. But Roberts, the interim coach, was hired for the 1971 season, and he vigorously continued his rebuilding of the team. A team picture on the wall now in his office of the 1968 club shows that there are now just 4 players on the squad from that ball club. Youth took over. Bubblegum replaced chawing tobacco. And a 4-10-2 mark in 1971 finally brought respect to New Orleans football and a new multi-year deal for J.D. J.D. Roberts and Vic Schwenk, incidentally, are both about the same height, but they just couldn't manage to see eye to eye after a while. So from a friendly partnership to shouting matches to silence, their friendship dissolved, and Mr. Mecom was called upon again to make a decision, keep one or the other, or neither. And this time, the worm turned for Mr. Schwenk, and quickly.
Did Vic think it would happen this quickly?
I don't think he did. I think Vic had ideas that would happen. I know Vic and I talked about a month and a half ago about a conversation I had with Pete Rozelle about 2 months ago. And I openly admitted to Vic after he asked me the question that I was looking, that I had talked to a couple of other people. I don't think the other people fit what I'm looking for, fit the bill that I'm looking for.
Bud Wilkinson, one of them?
That's correct. I've talked to Coach Wilkinson at length now, a lot since last summer. I had talked to him a lot about JD before that, but about this certain position. But I think Bud's doing a great job right now in television, and I really don't think that we need a football man in the front office. We need a businessman.
In Sinking Schwenk, Mecom first introduced his theory that a football franchise does not need a football man as general manager. And the man John had in mind at the time was his astronaut friend, Commander Richard Gordon.
Dick Gordon has been mentioned. Dick's been a friend of mine for a long time, and I must say it's been discussed with Dick. But it's also been discussed that he could possibly enter into 2 other fields within the Mecom interest, not just professional football.
Well, John, I'm sure there will be those who will disagree with your theory that you don't need a football man as general manager. And I'm thinking here in terms of the mechanics of drafting, the mechanics of the interior workings of a franchise and its relationship with other teams and with the league office.
Wayne, we've got a man in Harry Humes that knows football inside and out as far as rules, procedure, strategy, schedule, or whatever else may be concerned. Harry knows it. He's been through it in Baltimore. He's done a great job for us down here. Harry will be retained no matter what happens. And secondly, when it comes to rules, our rules are pretty well outlined in rule books. Our procedures outlined under certain laws or governing bodies of the NFL. So I don't think that you don't train like you do to be a tight end. You don't train to be a general manager, I don't feel.
If I were Harry Humes and heard myself praised like that, I think I'd ask for a raise. But John pursued his philosophy and hired Mr. Gordon as executive vice president of the Saints, and entrusted this astronaut, a man who'd been around the moon, to take a fling at trying to get the Saints off the ground.
Well, have you any football background or knowledge at all?
No, just other than the fact that I'm a very interested fan and I enjoy the game and I really love it. I think it's a great sport.
Of course, like John says, it's past being a sport in a lot of respects now. He says he thinks that a non-football man can handle the job because of the business aspects of it. Now, do you have, like, business background?
Well, no, I think that particular aspect, as far as I'm concerned, it deals with people, and that's what makes this sort of thing go. And I think people is the greatest thing about it, whether it's business or balance sheet. John has a great staff down there, and they can take care of the details of that, and there's a lot of human relationships that are involved in this type of activity. There certainly is.
So astronaut Dick Gordon landed on Lee Circle in '72, and this turned out to be the roughest campaign in Saints history. Not his fault, of course. Coach Roberts went from toast of the town to crumb of the city, and the fans went from dancing in the streets in '71 to dancing in the stands in '72. And at times it looked like more fun than the game. But now it's the dawn of a new year. The era of Archie Manning is upon us. Archie, the scrambler, the future, the leader, the franchise. And Danny, of course, is here. And Bob Pollard, one of the fine defensive players, a young man from Weber State, number 82 in this film, who always pursues, always battles, scratches, gouges, anything to get his man. And Bob Pollard, who's never satisfied with his own work, but always strives to reach the top.
Like Coach Champion, who I think is probably the best defensive coach I've had, he taught me not to be satisfied with anything that I do, because he thinks that I have a lot more potential than that's really coming to the surface right now. And so he's pushing me, and I'm trying my best to push myself, and I think I'm coming along.
Bob Pollard's determination, I think, reflects truly the new spirit of the Saints. Poor play and a poor record in 1972, well, they're behind us now. But they didn't stop Pollard or Manning or Jackson or Danny from striving for the supreme effort on every play. There are others, too, who, of course, never surrendered. But in 1973 now, the burden rests upon the shoulders of Mr. Mecom and Mr. Roberts to bring victory to our great fans and to keep the fires of enthusiasm burning in our youngsters. You know, there's one big advantage which benefits everyone when you have a young team. The old-time ball player has reached his peak, and he knows it. The eager youngster is still climbing, looking up, reaching for the top of the mountain. Being a young team also has its pitfalls. Sometimes when a youngster falls or fails, it takes a special handling to bring him back to the battle. And special handling means special consideration from his teachers, his coaches. So if 1973 is to be the good year that we've waited for since 1967, the time to start is now. Let old wounds heal, old feuds die. You know, football began as an angry gesture born of hate, but it's supposed to be fun. So let's not go back to the year 1042, to that lonely English beach, and start kicking again. Thank you.
6 years with the Saints was presented by the Liberty Bank and Trust Company, the bank that is small enough to give you personal attention, but big enough to service all of your needs.